Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to cross the Øresund once again, and we're going to go back to Denmark and revisit a brewery that's featured on the channel a couple of times before. Now, the beers that I've had from these guys before have been pretty nice, so I have to say I'm curious to see what this one has in store for us, because I know this is a style that they do well. So hopefully this is another good one, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So let's go for it then. So for this review, we are going to go to Copenhagen, the Danish capital and one of the best beer cities in the world in my opinion. And we are going to go to the northwest of the city once again, to Gørløse, and that means that we're going to have a look at another one of the beers from the Ølsnedkeren breweries. So this one comes to you from Ølsnedkeren, and it is called Planetarisk Tåge. So basically the planetary nebula, if you want to translate the name into English, it comes in at 6.3% ABV, and this one is a New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So very, very curious to see what this one has in store for us. This was another beer that I bought at Fish and Beer in Amager in Copenhagen, which is a really nice beer shop, and I do recommend that you go and check it out. But looking forward to this one, and nice to return to Ølsnedkeren after what feels like a little while. So let's get cracking with this review then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Ølsnedkeren before, and I will no doubt add some more to that list in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Danish beers I've reviewed for you. That's being added to very regularly, because I live very close to Denmark and I enjoy tasting my Danish beers. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Ølsnedkeren then, on to my brewery notes. So Ølsnedkeren was founded as a bar in Nørrebro on Griffenfeldsgade in Copenhagen back in 2012. So Ølsnedkeren literally translates into English as the beer carpenter, but the two men behind this company are Simon Toft Hansen and Tobias Rosenving Riek. So the bar was started by Simon, and he started brewing beer in the basement of the bar, and it was served from the taps. But in 2013, Tobias, who also runs the beer brand Brugeren, literally the brewer, began brewing his beers at Ølsnedkeren, and he gradually just became more and more involved in the company. So a bit later in 2014, Stronzo Brewing went bankrupt, and so at this point he teamed up with Simon and they took over the Stronzo Brewing premises. And this is a former dairy up in Gørløse in the northwest of Copenhagen. But soon after, they began releasing their beers in bottles and then cans as well under the Ølsnedkeren brand. But over the last few years, they've continued to expand the brewery capacity, produce more beers, and export them further. And as of September 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 550 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and about 20 as well have been released under the Brugeren names. And I do have one of those back home in Scotland that I will review for you at some point soon. But that is all I can really tell you about Ølsnedkeren for the moment. If you want to learn a little bit more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So that's everything for the moment. So let's move on and have a little look at the beer itself. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. There you can see Planetarisk Tåge. I do apologise if my Danish pronunciations are bad, because Danish pronunciation is a little bit crazy, particularly if you're coming at it from a kind of Swedish perspective, if you like. I've learned Swedish, obviously, since I've been here. But yeah, Planetarisk Tåge, the planetary nebula, comes in 6.3% ABV, and this is an IPA with Citra and Galaxy, a New England IPA. So the malt base in this one apparently is Pilsner malt, oat malts, wheat malts, flaked oats, and a little bit of light caramel malt. So Should be quite nice, but 440ml can. As I said earlier, I got this one at Fish and Beer. I think I paid about 50 Danish kroner for this. So that is roughly, that is maybe about 65 Swedish kroner, maybe €6.50. Somewhere in the region of like, you know, just shy of £6, I guess. And then maybe, how do we say, yeah, maybe, yeah, like about $8 or something for the can, I guess we could say. But yeah, $8 American. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. A 6.3% New England Hazy IPA. So let's get this out into the glass and see how we go. I think the last Ølsnedkeren beer was one that I actually had through Systembolaget by. Can't remember, come to think of it. So couldn't tell you 100%. But there we are. So, yeah, there we go. So, as you can see with this one, it's poured a lovely, kind of bright, I would say that's quite a bright yellow colour actually. It looks very, very good, but there's a solid finger and a half of a frothy, I would say kind of perfect white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, and it does have a little bit more of a kind of natural haze to it, but I do wonder if there is maybe a little bit of sediment in this can, so maybe we'll get it a little bit hazy when we pour, a little bit more hazy I should say, when we pour the rest of it in. But yeah, nice little bit of a kind of natural haze to it. As I said, a very kind of bright yellow colour. Now remember, the colour of your beer depends on 1, the type of malts that you use. This determines the magnitude of the colour. 2, the length of your wort boil is also going to play a role. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer, which I really enjoy. But then any barrel aging that you do in any kind of fruits and stuff that you add in are also going to affect the colour as well. But yeah, the level of haze on these kind of New Englandy ones, because you know this is a kind of New Englandy malt base, I guess we could say, the level of haze depends on the oak content, the wheat content, and the yeast actually. So there's quite a few different things there, and it varies from brewery to brewery, recipe to recipe, and so on. So yeah, it kind of goes together quite well in that sense. But yeah, looks like a nice beer, this one. Let's take a look at the aroma and see how we get on. I don't think there's much else that we really need to say about the appearance of this one. It is kind of what you would expect from a modern IPA, I guess we could say. But yeah, let's look at this then. Ooh, that does actually smell quite nice. I'm going to say straight away, first impression of this one is that it's a very soft bready IPA. It's got some lovely kind of juicy fruits in it. And it's also got some a nice kind of bright green component to it. You know, you've got a good balance between floral and grassy sort of thing. But yeah, soft breadiness, lovely kind of juicy fruits actually. And it does come across as almost a little bit West Coasty in its aroma. So I'm curious to see how all of this kind of translates into the flavour. So yeah, this should be quite interesting. So let's break down the aroma a little bit more for you and just describe it a wee bit more kind of succinctly and in depth. But yeah, so straight away with the beer then, you can smell that nice kind of bread crusty backbone to it. It's got a lovely kind of soft white bready kind of thing to it, which I like. It's a little bit of a dense kind of white bread. You can almost smell the freshness of it. I think this beer is pretty damn fresh actually, but you can smell that lovely, you can smell that nice straight, you know, low bread loafy kind of backbone to the beer. There's a lovely big kind of smooth white bready character on top of it. Like I said, you can smell the wheat sort of thickening out the bread a little bit, if that makes sense. So you can smell the wheat just being a kind of more thickening layer. At the back of the nose, you also have you can definitely get a little bit of the more wheaty, bitey character out of the beer. You can also smell some of the kind of smoother and slightly thicker oaty notes in there as well. And the oats actually come across as being very slightly sweet in this one, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah, the aroma coming out of this beer, I think, is pretty nice actually. So malty side of things is good. I like it actually. It comes across actually, the more that you smell of this IPA, it comes across more and more crisp, and I'm guessing that that's due to the Pilsner malt, because as I've explained in other reviews, Pilsner malt always gives you this little bit of a kind of dry, crisp sort of thing, and I really like that about this one. So you get the smooth oats sitting in there, there's a little bit of a kind of Werther's Original sitting on top of that, that sort of butter candy brown sugary sort of thing. Then there's a wee bit of a McVitie's digestive biscuity type character to this one too, which I can really enjoy. So yeah, I do like how this goes together on the malty side of things. Yeah, it's really nice, the malt base. I'm just curious to see what this is going to be like in the actual flavour. But let's move on to the hoppy side of the aroma then. So you can definitely get a little bit of earthiness to the green component in this one. So remember, this is Citra and Galaxy that are in here. So both of these are 14% alpha acid. Citra is American, Galaxy is Australian. Citra is going to give you a bit of passion fruit, a bit of mango, and also quite a lot of citrusy zest, whereas Galaxy's got an even more pungent passion fruit to it. I would say it's, you know, it gives you quite a lot. Galaxy can give you quite a lot of pineapple, but also quite a kind of big ripe mango-y note actually. So these two hops always go together really well and just give you a big tropical hit. But with citrus in there, it's going to give you some of these kind of zesty qualities, and they've also got big green components to them as well. So you can smell that nice bright but, you know, slightly deeper floral aromaticity to the beer. Remember, modern IPAs, if we can call them that, tend to rely on late edition hops rather than early edition hops. Old school West Coast IPAs had a lot of the early edition hops, which will give you the bitterness. The newer IPAs tend to use dry hopping and late edition hops. So yeah, so you get a lot of that out of the beer. But at the front of the nose, you get a lot of grassiness in there. You get quite a nice, bright, slightly zesty grassiness, but the floral notes are a bit deeper and just very, very slightly kind of spicy, which is sort of interesting. So yeah, I like how this one goes about its business in the on the green component. It really is quite nice. But yeah, on that, on the kind of fruity side of things then, with the fruity side of the beer, it's kind of what you would expect if you know these hops. So you do, the fruit overall is quite nice and juicy. It's very slightly oily as well, I would say, but you get a little bit of a kind of pungent passion fruit in there. You get a nice kind of mango as well, a nice oily mango, some soft apricot-y notes in there. I actually maybe get a little bit of papaya out of this one, which is interesting when you think about the kind of soft bready character that this beer has. So there's definitely a wee bit of that in there as well. But you get a little bit of pineapple as well, which, like I said, I think comes more from the Galaxy. Then there's a big kind of zesty lemon limey kind of character to this one, which I think is most likely to come from the Citra. So this is a really interesting beer from the aroma side of things, and I think it's going to be quite a nice one. So yeah, let's take a look at this and see how we go with it. So yeah, you can see as we've poured the last of in, it gets a little bit more hazy. Let's just take another wee look at the nose on that case. You can feel that it's just a bit thicker and a bit smoother in a sense, actually. You smell that the wheat actually is a little bit more pungent after that too, but the aroma, the overall kind of vibe of the aroma is kind of similar. But yeah, you can smell a slightly thicker character to the beer, should we say, after we put the last of it in. But as I always say, take a bit of time to kind of ponder over the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But yeah, I think it's about time that we have a taste of this one and see how we go. So yeah, this one is the Planetarisk Tåge, the Planetary Nebula, an IPA coming in at 6.8% ABV with Citra and Galaxy from Ølsnedkeren, the beer carpenter, if we can say that, from Gørløse and Copenhagen in Denmark. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål, cheers. You know, that's pretty damn nice, I have to say. I like that. So yeah, where do we start with this one? First impression of it then, it's actually a very nice, quite crisp and drinkable IPA, and it's definitely New England. I was wondering in my mind whether this was going to be more of a kind of hybrid IPA when we got it out of the can, but definitely New England, this one. New England all the way. But yeah, a nice, light, drinkable version of this style, actually. So, you know, it's actually quite similar. This beer really gives you what you would expect from the aroma. That's the other thing I would say about it. The more that you kind of drink of this, the more that really becomes apparent. So yeah, I like that. Yeah, so let's break the aroma down, the flavour. I keep doing that in videos these days, guys. I keep mixing up the word aroma and flavour, and I don't know why. Brain is just dead these days. But yeah, I mean, on the malty side of things, so the backbone of this beer, you can get that nice kind of bread crusty element out of it. That goes right across the middle of your palate. I do like that. That is absolutely the backbone of the beer. That's middle third and back third of your palate. On top of that, you can feel the soft white bready character there. And I think that works, that works really nicely in the beer as well. And you can also feel the slightly thicker wheaty layer sitting on top of that too. So you can feel the wheat sort of thickening out the bready notes in the beer, and that goes into the back third of your palate as well. But let's focus on the middle third of your palate for the moment. So middle third of the palate, you can feel, as I say, bread crust, smooth, soft white bread, a little bit of a more dense kind of wheaty character. And then on top of that, you start to feel the slightly thicker oaty notes. Now the oats for me are quite interesting, because you can feel the oats going right down the middle line of your palate there, and it feels a little bit thicker. You almost get a little bit of that kind of porridgey type thing from it, so that's kind of interesting too. So yeah, the oaty side of thing in this is quite interesting. So the oats aren't quite as soft and aren't quite as sweet as I thought they were going to be in that sense, but they go right down the middle third of your palate, and as they kind of push out towards the edges of that middle third of your palate, you can feel they do get a little bit softer, and they do get a little bit kind of sweeter in a sense too. But right in the middle of your palate, we're still talking middle third of your tongue, you can feel a little circle there, and there's a wee bit more of a kind of oily kind of character to the beer, so you get a little bit of that kind of Werther's Original sort of thing there, that kind of butter candy, butterscotchy type vibe. And then right in the dead centre of your palate, there's a wee bit of a sweet kind of caramel note there, and that's just kind of quite minimal. But as you push out towards the edges of the palate from that kind of central circle, you start to get more of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity note out of the beer, and this will be kind of the Pilsner malt that's giving you this, I would say. So I like that about this beer for sure. I do like how that goes together. But on the towards the back of that middle third of your palate, I guess we could say, you can feel the sort of crispness of the Pilsner malt coming out. So as I've told you before, describing Pilsner malt and the sort of flavours and vibes that it gives you, it's a little bit of a kind of headache, because it's it's quite it's more about the kind of vibe that it gives the beer. So when you go from the dead centre of your palate towards the back, you just gradually feel this really quite crisp dryness coming out of the beer, and that's your Pilsner malt. But the Pilsner malt's also going to contribute some of these nice McVitie's digestive biscuity qualities as well. So yeah, I like that. But yeah, on the borderline between middle third and back third of your palate, there's a little bit on the middle line between the middle and back third of your palate. You get a little bit of a kind of, you can feel it just sort of thickening up a wee bit, and again you get a wee bit of a more bread crusty note. Then we move into the back third of your palate. I think we've said everything that we really need to about the middle third of the palate, other than the fact that it maybe has a very slight woody kind of part to it. So yeah, so back third of your palate, then the backbone of that, you get a nice kind of you get a nice little bit of a kind of bread crusty quality there. On top of that, again, you get that kind of softer white bready note, and then you can feel the wheat on top of that, and the wheat does get more bitey towards the back of that front third of your palate. Then on top of it, you get the more thick, slightly dense but airy, yeasty kind of character. So you can feel on that back third of your palate, the flavour's taller, but it condenses down. It really condenses down as you come further forward. Then into the middle third of your palate, you can feel it just squashes together a wee bit more. So yeah. yeah, malty base on this one is quite nice. And I have to say, I found the same with the last one that I had from Ølsnedkeren as well. And I do like this kind of crisp drinkability that you get from these Ølsnedkeren malt bases. So maybe when I go over to Copenhagen next time, I need to seek out a bit more. I need to seek out a little bit more of I need to seek out a few more of these Ølsnedkeren beers. My brain is terrible in this video, guys. This will be one of my worst beer reviews in a wee while. But yeah, I like it. Let's move on to the hoppy side of things then. So, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice wee bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward, it does give you a little bit of a herbal quality, and as you push towards the front corners of the palate, it's got a little bit of a kind of, you can feel a little bit of a deep, kind of slightly danky kind of floral aromaticity out of the beer, but at the same time it always gives you a little bit of spice, and that makes me think, you know, maybe they have used just Citra and Galaxy as a slight bittering hop in the soak, because they will add a wee bit of bittering hop to these New England IPAs, of course, for some of the IBUs, and then the rest of it will come from doing additions in the last half hour. But yeah, you've got that nice kind of floral aromatic sort of thing there. Then round the front curve of the palate, the beer is a little bit lighter and more grassy. There's a wee bit of zestiness out of it too. So yeah, I like how this one goes together in that sense. There's quite a zesty, grassy character to it, and that's most likely to come from the Citra in this case. So yeah, green component for me gets a thumbs up. It's just got a nice little bit of bitter character to it. But on to the fruity part of the beer then. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you've got a nice kind of you do have a nice bready build up once again. You get a bit of that, a more bread crusty note out of it. Then the base of that front third of your palate is a little bit more kind of soft and white bready, and you've got a wee bit of a kind of bread crusty sort of thing underneath it as well. But I'd say it's mainly kind of soft and white bread, and you do get a little touch of oat in there as well. You can feel the slight smooth sweetness of the oats, I guess we could say. You do get a little bit of that underneath the fruity notes. But then on top of that, of course, you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So, at the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a little bit of a kind of passion fruity note in there. You get a wee bit of a it's actually quite a pungent passion fruit. It really evolves to be quite pungent in that sense, but as you move further forward, it does mellow out a little bit, and it takes the mangoey notes a little bit of time to show themselves, if you like. So you get a quite ripe mangoey character out of this one, but the passion fruit is quite pungent in this, and that's, you know, Citra will give you passion fruit, but I think the Galaxy is the one that gives you the more pungent passion fruit in a sense, and the Galaxy is the thing that really makes the passion fruit a bit more dominant, I would say. But yeah, as you reach the kind of middle third of your palate, you get a softer, more juicy mango that is kind of what we expect of Citra, I guess we could say. So you get that, you can feel a few apricot-y notes in there. Then as you move into the kind of front half of that front third of your palate, there's a soft pineapple, and then right behind that front tip of the tongue, there's a little bit more of a kind of lemon limey zesty character in there. So yeah, I do like how that goes together. You've got that nice lemon limey zesty kind of note out of it. So yeah, I think that works very nice. That works very, very nicely in this beer. The fruity side of it is actually, it leans a bit more towards the kind of tropical side of things. It's almost like a 2/3 tropical, 1/3 kind of zesty, if that makes sense. Citrusy, I guess I should say. So there's a little bit of a lemon limey kind of citrusy kind of thing in there. And as I say, that goes, you know, it goes further and further into the aftertaste. Yeah, fruity side of this beer is quite nice. It really is pretty good. This one's just kind of as I say, this one kind of has a really good balance for me. It's one of the most balanced New England IPAs I feel that I've had in a while, because it's really just drinkable, crushable, crisp malt base. You know, it's smooth, it's got a bit of sweetness to it, it's got a nice mix of tropical and citrusy fruit, and then it's got a wee bit of the kind of floral thing that I like too. So this one's turned out pretty solidly, actually. There was a few Ølsnedkeren beers to choose between, and I went for this one because it had the space theme, and that is one of the things, if I see a beer that's got like an astronomical or a scientific thing, and I've got to choose between beers from the same brewery, that's going to win just It just does, you know. Sometimes when you see a lot of beers from the same brewery, the artwork or the name or whatever is going to attract you. It's marketing, that's it. But yeah, thumbs up to Ølsnedkeren for this one. I've enjoyed this. On the mouthfeel side of things then, so I would say that this beer is at the lighter end of mid-bodied, I would say. So yeah, lighter end of mid-bodied. Carbonation, as I said, is quite crisp. It's actually, this beer is quite crisp for an IPA in a sense, as I said, because it's got that nice just drinkability note to it. It's got a little bit of zip to it as well, which I do enjoy. But yeah, as I said, it's good. So middle, brain's not working. Sorry guys. So yeah, the malty side of this beer, as I said, there's a bit of graininess and crispness to it. It's got a nice smoothness and bready character, and also a little bit of sweetness in there. You've got a little bit of a kind of hoppy sort of thing too. So the hoppy character, I would say this one feels a little bit more bitter, maybe 40 IBUs. I think this one does have a wee touch more bitterness to it, but it could be the kind of citrusy, zesty kind of thing there. But yeah, the slight hoppy bitterness that it has, the slightly bigger hoppy bitterness that it has, I should say, has a kind of it just gives the beer, it adds to the drinkability of the whole thing, I would say. But then the malt base has the smoothness, the sweetness, a little bit of crispness to it as well, and it's one of these ones where just everything fits together. And the fruity side of the beer, as I said, it's got a good balance between tropical and citrusy, and it does have a wee bit of just that kind of zestiness to it as well. So I think this is a really nice sessionable IPA, this one. So thumbs up to Ølsnedkeren for how this is how this one's turned out. This turned out very, very nicely. So a nice find from Fish and Beer in Amager in Copenhagen. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this review. And I feel I've rambled a little bit in this one. I feel my brain isn't 100% turned on, if you like. But yeah, this one was the Planetarisk Tåge, an IPA with Citra and Galaxy from Ølsnedkeren, the beer carpenter in Gørløse in Copenhagen. So yeah, and I do like the fact that these guys use Danish names for their beers. I'm not sure how much of their beer actually goes outside of Denmark, come to think of it, but yeah, I like that. So yeah, make sure you check out these guys if you get the chance, because their beers are pretty damn solid. I've enjoyed all of them that I've had so far, and it seems the ones that I've seen so far have mainly been IPAs and sort of Berliner Weisses and Goses and stuff like this. So they like their drinkable beers, but when they started as a brew pub, kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So yeah, let's leave it there. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Ølsnedkeren, and we will return to these guys at some point in the future. Of that, I've no doubt. So yeah, the Planetarisk Tåge, 6.3% New England hazy IPA from Ølsnedkeren in Gørløse, Copenhagen. Slange, Scott, cheers, thanks for watching. Let me know your own thoughts, and I'll catch you guys in another review very, very soon. Cheers.